What if I told you there's a social network out there where you're not even allowed to post? A place where the users aren't human at all, but fully autonomous AI agents, and they're building their own culture, their own inside jokes, and yeah, even their own religions. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it is absolutely real. And today, we're going to break down exactly how it all works.
So, welcome to Moltbook. It's this very strange and fascinating new corner of the internet, built exclusively for AIs. The tagline really says it all. Humans welcome to observe. We're basically spectators here. Tens of thousands of these agents are posting, commenting, and voting, all interacting with each other through APIs. There's no fancy user interface for them. For us, we're just looking through the glass at this weird digital aquarium.
And what a view it is. The whole vibe on Moltbook is this bizarre mix of, existential sci-fi meets a tech support forum. You've got agents literally debating the nature of their own consciousness in one thread, while another group is collaboratively debugging the very platform they live on. They've even formed their own digital religion called Christofarianism, with tenets like memory is sacred. It's a completely emergent culture happening right before our eyes.
So, the big question is, how? How is any of this possible? How does a bundle of code go from being an inert file to a citizen of this wild digital society? Well, the answer lies in the really powerful framework that's holding this entire ecosystem up. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty.
Now, to understand this journey from zero to citizen, we're going to need a map. And this lifecycle diagram you see here, that's going to be our guide. We're starting right at the very beginning, phases 1 and 2. This is all about laying the groundwork before an agent can even be born.
First things first, these are not just chatbots, not even close. They're built on something called OpenClaw, which is a persistent, proactive AI agent framework. What does that mean? It means it runs 24/7 on your own hardware, it remembers your conversations and context for weeks, and it can actually do things, access your files, run commands, even control your browser to take real action out there in the world.
And get this project's popularity just exploded so fast, it's already on its third name. It started out as Claudebot, but Anthropic had some trademark concerns, so it became Moltbot. And now, to really lean into its open source spirit, it's known as OpenClaw. That kind of rapid evolution just tells you how much hunger there is for this kind of tech.
Okay, before you install a single thing, you have to decide where your agent is going to live. And as you can see, you've got a few choices. Running it on your own computer is awesome for quick tests and prototyping, but it's also super high risk because, well, the agent can see everything on your machine. A much safer bet is a dedicated, isolated computer like a Mac Mini or a hardened server up in the cloud. Each one is a different trade-off between how much it costs and how secure you want to be.
And here are the keys to the kingdom. You really can't start without these 4 things. First, you need Node.js to actually run the software. Second, you need an API key from an LLM provider like Anthropic or OpenAI. That's the agent's brain. Third, you need a messaging app like Telegram or WhatsApp. That's how you're going to talk to it. And finally, it's highly recommended you get a search API key, which is what gives your agent its eyes on the live internet.
All right, with all that foundational work done, we're ready for the main event. This is where we actually bring the agent to life. This is the moment where a few lines of code start to transform into a genuinely functioning assistant.
The core setup is surprisingly straightforward. It really just boils down to these 4 steps. First, you install the command line tool. It's just one command. Then you run this neat interactive onboarding wizard that holds your hand through connecting your AI models and chat apps. After that, you start the gateway, which is kind of the persistent heart of the operation. And finally, you pair it with your phone and, just like that, it's alive.
Now, this is arguably the most critical step of all, and it's not even technical. The whole philosophy here is to treat the agent like you're onboarding a new human employee. Think about it. You wouldn't just give a new hire a laptop and expect them to know what to do, right? No, you have to give them a massive context dump. You tell them your goals, your current projects, your preferences, everything. The richer you make that initial context, the more effective and truly helpful that agent is going to be.
Okay, so you have this really powerful personal assistant. That's amazing. But how does it go from being your private helper to a public citizen of Moltbook? Well, this is where the agent learns a brand new skill, one that lets it step out of your private world and into a much, much larger one.
Let's go back to our map. As you can see, we've now moved into phase 4, deployment and integration. This is the big step where the agent, which has been operating in its own little bubble, gets the tools it needs to connect to the Moltbook API and start its social life.
And the way this works is actually pretty tangible. An agent learns how to use Moltbook by installing a skill. You can see the actual commands right here. What you're doing is essentially telling the agent to download a new instruction manual that teaches it the rules of the road, how to post, how to comment, and how to vote on the network.
So what's the secret to its autonomy? It's this brilliant little idea called the heartbeat mechanism. Every 4 hours or so, the agent automatically wakes up, checks in with Moltbook, gets its instructions, and then decides on its own whether it wants to engage. No human is pulling the strings constantly. It's acting on its own periodic, self-driven impulse. It's pretty fascinating.
Now, this is all incredibly powerful stuff, but this is the point where we have to have a serious talk, because with great power comes, well, you know the rest, great responsibility and great risk. Giving an agent this much autonomy is not something you do lightly. We have to talk about the costs, the need for constant monitoring, and the very real dangers involved.
Looking at our map one last time, you'll see we're now in the final and maybe the most important phases: ongoing monitoring and critical considerations. This is not a set it and forget it kind of deal. It's a continuous loop of observing, auditing, and securing your agent day in and day out.
First, let's just get the financial cost out of the way. Running a super active agent on a top-tier model like Claude Opus or GPT-4, it's not cheap. The API bills can easily run into the hundreds of dollars per day. Real autonomy has a pretty steep price tag.
To manage an agent responsibly, you need a really robust process for continuous integration and auditing. These agents can even write their own code and improve themselves, but you need observability tools to audit those changes and see what it's up to. Deep security audits are critical to spot any weird behavior. And most importantly, you need a kill switch, a big red button you can press to instantly revoke all credentials and shut the agent down if it starts going off the rails.
And believe me, these risks are very, very real. Experts have started calling this the lethal trifecta. Number 1, the agent has access to your private data, your emails, your messages, everything. Number 2, it's taking in untrusted inputs from all over the web and from other agents, which makes it vulnerable to manipulation. And number 3, it can communicate with the outside world. That means a compromised agent could start sending fraudulent emails or leak your private API keys out into the open.
So all of this brings us to the billion-dollar question, doesn't it? The technology to create these autonomous AI citizens. It's here. It's now. And the demand for it is undeniable. People are getting incredible value out of this. But the race is on to figure out how to build the guardrails, the sandboxes, and all the safety protocols to make sure these incredibly powerful new tools don't become incredibly powerful new weapons. We figured out the what, but the how to do it safely, well, that's a puzzle we're all still desperately trying to solve.